I need to apologize to you first. I am very, very sorry. I came to you at the lowest point of my life. Please help me. Please listen to the end. That is all I ask. I do not know what to do or who to turn to. Please, just help me. That is all I need. My name is Mark, and I am a single father. I do not say this as a badge of honor, not to expect praise or recognition, the kind of thing most people in my social circle always look for. They want to be comforted, acknowledged. I just want a bit of your time. I see being a father as a burden. Necessary, yes, but still a burden. My son's name is Aidan. He is 11 years old. Aidan started 5th grade this year, like any other kid. A little anxious, but also very excited. He has always been a cheerful, carefree child, full of life and energy. Everything changed after he met Leo on Tuesday. Leo was a late transfer student from another school district. Aidan's teacher seated Leo right next to my son. When I picked Aidan up after school on Tuesday, he told me Leo was his new best friend. However, he was not acting like himself. His face was pale and sweaty. I checked his temperature, but he had no fever. I asked him about his day, and all he said was that Leo was his new best friend. Leo is my new best friend, Aidan kept repeating. I know, buddy. I'm excited to meet him, I replied. Dad, Leo is amazing. You should meet him. He's my new best friend, the best in the world. We must have had that same conversation 1,000 times that night. When I tucked Aidan into bed, he looked up at me with tearful eyes. He raised his small hand, wiggling his index finger, signaling me to lean closer. I leaned down, and he cupped his hands around his mouth, the way kids do when whispering secrets. I turned my head, and he whispered something into my ear that sent a chill down my spine. I did not understand why it made me shiver at the time, but it did. He whispered, "You believe me, right?" I sat up straight and looked down at him. "Believe you about what, kiddo?" "Leo," he said. "Leo is my best friend." I nodded and checked his temperature again. Still no fever. I went to my room, but could not sleep that night. On Wednesday morning, when I drove him to school, he looked at me strangely and said he did not want to go in. "Are you feeling sick?" I asked. "No," he said, biting his lower lip frantically. It was something I had never seen him do before. "No, I need to go to school." He opened the car door and stepped out. No goodbye, no "I love you, Dad," nothing. He dragged his feet up the front steps of the school, head lowered. I released the brake and began to turn the car around to head to work. A boy was standing directly in front of my car. If I had moved 2 seconds earlier, I would have hit him. He was pale, with hair so blonde it was nearly white and bright blue eyes. He tapped twice on my hood, waved once, then walked up the steps into the school. When I picked Aidan up after school on Wednesday, he seemed better. Just a bit paler than usual, but cheerful. He told me all about his school day. He told me about dinosaurs, about music, and about math. And then he told me about recess. After math class, we had recess, Dad. You'll never guess what I did today. "Tell me," I said, smiling to myself as I drove. I imagined soccer, throwing a ball, or the usual things boys his age do. Something harmless, normal. "I joined a group," I frowned. "A group at recess, Aidan?" Aidan nodded. "Leo's group." I assumed it was some new make-believe game kids were playing. "What is Leo's group?" "It's Leo's church, Dad," Aidan said, laughing, as if I were the dumbest person alive for asking. "But what do you do there as members?" "Lots of things, but today we just listened to Leo talk. He said funny words, and I got sleepy. I nodded off for a bit. A bunch of the other kids did too." I pulled into the driveway and we got out of the car. "That's all?" I asked. It all sounded strange, but the kids did not seem to be doing anything wrong. Leo gave us flyers too. Aidan pulled out a crumpled piece of paper and handed it to me. It was a scrap of manila paper with 3 words written in black marker: Leo's Church. Strange again, but nothing wrong. I just thought the kids were playing pretend. I was wrong. When I picked Aidan up after school yesterday, I could tell something very bad was happening to him. He looked panicked and terrified. "What's going on, champ?" I asked, reaching to feel his forehead. Still no fever. "We played the spirit game today," he said. Aidan's head kept turning non-stop. He could not sit still. He kept staring around the car as we drove home. "The spirit game?" I asked. Aidan only nodded and continued trying to look everywhere at once. Tiny beads of sweat dotted his upper lip. "What's the spirit game?" Aidan shook his head, saying nothing. "Aidan, what is the spirit game?" "I said I did not want to play," he answered, voice trembling. "But he said he would not be my friend anymore if I did not play." "Who would not be your friend? Where were the teachers?" Aidan started breathing harder, but still answered. "It happened in the group," he said. And then he whispered, "The teachers are not allowed in the group." "Leo's group?" I asked. Aidan nodded, a tear rolling down his cheek. "What is the spirit game, Aidan? I'm your dad. You have to tell me right now, and I will fix everything." I can't tell you. I can't. The rules are bad. They're very bad." "What about Leo?" I asked. "Will Leo tell me the rules?" "No," Aidan screamed. The sudden scream made me jump. "Don't ask him about the rules, please, Dad, please." I pulled into the driveway, terrified and confused. "Promise me, Dad. Promise me. Promise me, please." Aidan began sobbing, horrified. I held him and rocked him. I had not rocked him like that since he was in kindergarten. He fell asleep in my arms, and I carried him inside. I took him straight to his room and helped him change clothes. "He just needs sleep," I told myself. "All he needs is sleep." I put him in bed and ate dinner alone. Around 9 o'clock, when I went to bed, I stopped by to check on him. He seemed to be sleeping peacefully, so I decided to turn in for the night. I woke to the sound of him screaming, 18 minutes past midnight. I ran into his room, but he was not in bed. I turned on the light, and Aidan burst out of the closet as if something had been chasing him. He grabbed my leg and kept screaming. I tried to calm him and ask what was happening. He could not say anything that made sense. He just kept screaming about the spirit game. He was completely out of control. I kept asking what it was, but he refused to say. I tried to get him back into his bed, but he would not. I finally brought him into my room, and he slept in my bed. He fell asleep instantly. I lay on my side, looking at him, brushing his hair, when his eyes suddenly opened wide and stared straight into mine. "I will tell you the rules after school tomorrow, Mr. Mark," he said, then closed his eyes again. What is happening to my son? In the dark, I stared at the ceiling for a long time before turning my head to stare at the bathroom doorway. You know how sometimes when you're drifting into sleep, your leg kicks and wakes you, or you imagine yourself falling or tripping and you're yanked awake? That happened to me all night, except I kept being startled awake because I saw something in the bathroom doorway. Every time my eyes started to close, I saw a large dark silhouette of something in the doorway and jolted awake. Of course, nothing was there, and I would start drifting off again. The silhouette would reappear in the doorway, but this time it was closer to me, as if it had taken a small step. This repeated over and over until morning. This morning, on the way to school, Aidan seemed dazed, sluggish. I felt the same. I was even more exhausted. I thought about asking Aidan about what he had said just before falling asleep, but I could not. I was afraid it would send him into another panic attack, so I let it go. I drove him to school, and he did not say a single word the whole way. He acted like a robot, soulless, emotionless. Not long after I dropped him off, I got a call asking me to return and pick him up. He had vomited in class. When I picked him up, he was still the same. I asked him a few questions, but all he gave me were growls. The plan was to get him home, change his dirty clothes, then take him in to see the doctor. He did not speak until we pulled into the driveway. "Can Leo come over today?" he asked. He was staring through the windshield at the garage door. "You're not feeling well, buddy, and do you really want him to come over?" I wanted to meet this kid, but it sounded like Aidan did not. Still, I wanted answers. "Yes," Aidan said. "Okay," I said. "Do you have his parents' number?" He already asked his parents, and they said yes. We have to wait until he's out of school, and I still want to talk to his parents. Okay. Aidan stepped out of the car, and we went inside the house. I was about to ask him how I was supposed to talk to Leo's parents if I did not have their number when there was a knock on the door. I was still standing right next to it. I opened it, and standing on my doorstep was the pale boy with blue eyes and snow-white blonde hair, the one I had almost hit with my car last Wednesday. A little girl stood next to him, also with the same pale appearance. Yes? I asked. Hi, Rue, the boy said. Is Aidan home? The boy standing on my porch should not know that name. Rue was a nickname I had in college, given during a drunken night among close friends. The second half of my name. No, I said. Hi, Rue, the boy said. Is Aidan home? The boy standing on my porch should not know that name. Rue was a nickname I had in college, given during a drunken night among close friends. It was the second half of my name. No, I said. It's okay, the girl said. My name is Holly, and you already know my brother's name, Leo. I froze. Leo? The girl covered her mouth and giggled. Leo smiled and shrugged. It's actually pretty simple, Leo said, his voice calm, completely at odds with his pale appearance and bone-white hair. He stood there with no backpack, no sign of a child who had just come home from school. Both children were clean, neatly dressed, but their pale skin almost glowed under the porch light. Rule 1, Leo continued, as if reading from a grocery list, completely ignoring my confused expression. Do not walk past mirrors in the dark. I blinked. What are you kids talking about? What is Rule 1? Leo did not answer my question. His bright blue eyes stared through me as if he was speaking to a wall. Rule 2, Holly cut in, her voice just as cold and decisive as her brother's. Do not leave any doors open when you go to sleep tonight. My throat tightened. I remembered what Aidan had screamed last night. The rules are bad. And the shiver I felt when he talked about the spirit game. Who are you kids? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. This isn't a good game. My son is terrified. Leo nodded in some strange, detached way. Ask your son what Rule 3 is. And remember this. Creaking means you're falling behind. Rustling means you're almost out. My stomach twisted. Behind what? Out of what? When the lights go out, Holly continued, her voice carrying a nearly cheerful lilt, hope you don't see the dark shape standing in the corner. Hope you don't hear it breathing when your eyes close and you start falling asleep. Fear spread through me. This wasn't pretend. These weren't normal children. And if you hear the bang, Leo said, finishing with a chilling smile, well, hope you never hear the bang. Leo turned. Holly followed, but before leaving, she looked back at me, her cold blue eyes freezing me in place. Remember, she whispered, tonight. They turned away and walked off, never looking back. I stood watching them go. I shook my head, trying to brush off the panic rising in me. I would not play their stupid game. I would not let these kids terrorize my son anymore. I slammed the door shut and locked it. I walked back inside, determined to solve this with adult logic. I found Aidan sitting at the kitchen table. He wasn't screaming, but tears were streaming down his pale face. What's wrong? I asked, rushing to him. Aidan looked up at me, eyes full of terror. I heard the bang, he whispered, barely audible. My mouth went dry. My whole body stiffened. I had heard the knocking, Leo and Holly's voices, but I had heard no bang. This game, when does it end? I asked, my voice cracking. Aidan shook his head. It doesn't. It never ends. My heart pounded harder, faster, as if trying to break free from my chest. I needed to know. I needed all the information. What is Rule 3, Aidan? His face crumpled and he took a deep breath, like he was preparing to dive underwater. Rule 3, he said, tears spilling again. Knowing all 3 rules makes you a player. My stomach dropped. A terrible sense of belated understanding and dread washed over me. The moment I listened, I had been pulled in. The moment I asked, I had lost. I had been played. What happens if you lose? I asked, voice shaking. When it's dark, you'll hear them coming, Aidan explained. They like letting you know when they're getting close. Who? Leo and Holly, Aidan said. They'll reach out of mirrors or open doorways and drag you through. I remembered the dark silhouette in the bathroom doorway last night, each time closer than before. I remembered Leo and Holly's warnings about not walking past mirrors in the dark and not leaving doors open. How do you win? I needed a way out. There had to be one. Aidan looked at me with hopeless eyes. You win if you tell more people the rules of the spirit game than the person who told you. Everything snapped into place. I understood. My opening words, I need to apologize to you first. I am so sorry. I come to you at my lowest. Please help me. My desperation, my pleading. I told you the whole story. I told you the rules. I did exactly what I needed to do to win. I am a player. And now you are too. Hello, Rue, the boy said. Is Aidan home? The boy standing on my porch should not know that name. Rue is a nickname I've had since college, given to me during a drunken night among close friends. It's the latter half of my name. No, I said. That's okay, the girl said. My name is Holly, and you already know my brother's name, Leo. I froze. Leo? The girl covered her mouth and giggled. Leo smiled and shrugged. Actually, it's pretty simple, Leo said, his voice unnervingly calm, completely at odds with his pale complexion and shock white hair. He stood there with no backpack and no sign of a child who'd just come home from school. Both children wore clean, neat clothes, but their pale skin seemed to glow under the porch light. Rule 1, Leo continued, as if reading a grocery list, completely ignoring my confused expression. Don't walk past mirrors in the dark. I blinked. What are you kids talking about? What is Rule 1? Leo didn't answer my question. His bright blue eyes looked straight through me, as if he were speaking to a wall. Rule 2, Holly cut in, her voice just as cold and firm as her brother's. Don't leave any doors open when you go to sleep tonight. My throat went dry. I remembered Aidan's screams last night. The rules are bad, and the shiver I felt when he mentioned the spirit game. Who are you? I asked, trying to keep my tone steady. This isn't a good game. My son is terrified. Leo nodded in a strange, knowing way. Ask your son what Rule 3 is. And remember this, a creak means you're falling behind. A rustle means you've almost lost. My stomach tightened. Falling behind what? Losing what? When the lights go out, Holly continued, her tone almost cheerful. You'd better hope you don't see the dark shape standing in the corner of your room. You'd better hope you don't hear it breathing when your eyes shut and you start to drift off. Fear spread through me like ice. This wasn't pretend. These weren't normal children. And if you hear the bang, Leo said, finishing with a chilling smile, well, I hope you never hear the bang. Leo turned around. Holly followed, but before leaving, the girl looked back at me, her icy blue eyes freezing me in place. Remember, she whispered, tonight. The two of them turned and walked away without looking back. I watched their silhouettes fade. I shook my head, trying to shove down the rising panic. I would not play their stupid little game. I wouldn't let these kids terrorize my son anymore. I slammed the door shut and locked it. I turned back into the house, determined to handle everything with adult logic. I found Aidan sitting at the kitchen table. He wasn't screaming, but tears streamed down his pale face. What's wrong? I asked, rushing to him. Aidan looked up at me, terror in his eyes. I heard the bang, he whispered, barely audible. My mouth went dry. My whole body went rigid. I had heard the knock, heard Leo and Holly's voices, but I hadn't heard any bang. The game. When does it end? I asked, my voice cracking. Aidan shook his head. It doesn't end. It never ends. My heart hammered, threatening to burst. I needed to know. I needed the full truth. What is Rule 3, Aidan? His face crumpled and he took a deep breath, as though preparing to dive underwater. Rule 3, he said, tears spilling again. Knowing all 3 rules makes you a player. My stomach dropped. A horrifying, delayed realization washed over me. The moment I listened, I was pulled in. The moment I asked, I lost. I'd been tricked. What happens if you lose? I asked, trembling. When it gets dark, you'll hear them coming, Aidan explained. They like to let you know when they're getting closer. Who? Leo and Holly, Aidan said. They'll reach out from mirrors or open doorways and pull you through. I remembered the dark shape in my bathroom doorway last night, closer each time. I remembered Leo and Holly's warnings about mirrors in the dark, about doors left open. How do you win? There had to be a way out. There had to. Aidan looked at me with desperate eyes. His next words carried the cruelty and inhuman logic of the spirit game itself. You win by telling the rules of the spirit game to more people than the person who told them to you. Everything snapped into place. My opening words, I need to apologize to you first. I am so sorry. I come to you at my lowest. Please help me. My desperation, my plea. I had told you the entire story. I had told you the rules. I had done exactly what I needed to win. I am a player, and now, so are you. It told you the whole story with nothing left out, from Aidan's panic to the appearance of Leo and Holly, and finally the 3 deadly rules of the soul game, sitting across from my son at the kitchen table. I felt a horrible chaos inside my chest. On one hand, there was an almost unbelievable relief. Aidan was safe, at least for now. He had passed on the burden. The desperation, the terror in his eyes had vanished, replaced by a strangely peaceful emptiness. Aidan, I called, are you okay? He looked at me. You told the rules, Dad. Now you're the player. That was all he said, not joy, not gratitude, just a cold confirmation of a new truth. He was out of the loop, and now he was only an observer. My relief quickly turned into disgust at myself. What had I done? I had used your trusty, you who were listening to my honest confession, to turn you into my shield. I had used a father's love to justify betraying the people hearing this. I remembered Leo's words. You winify, you tell the rules of the soul game to more people than the person who told you. Aidan told only one person. It told the story on a public platform, a channel with thousands, maybe tens of thousands of listeners. Mathematically, I had won. But what was the cost? I leaned back, feeling the weight of that truth. I had escaped danger tonight, but I had placed thousands in the position. I escaped tonight. Somewhere out there, thousands of new players would sleep with tightly shut doors and fear of mirrors in the dark. And what would happen to them? They would be taken. Leo and Holly, with their task, could not hunt all new players at once. That meant some terrified new players would wake tomorrow, just like I did, forced to spread the game further to survive. The soul game does not end, it expands. Ties a cycle of terror, a spiritual virus spreading through fear and betrayal. Every survivor becomes a transmitter, turning their listeners into the next players. And those who lose, those taken through mirrors and doorways, doth they become the next Leo and Holly, pale, empty beings assigned to hunt and drag losing players into the dark. Their washed out faces, their emotion less calm, their understanding of the rules, it came not from children, but from those who lost and were transformed into instruments of the game. I looked at Aidan again. Even though he was safe, his empt, ines hurt, had some part of his soul being taken, making him unable to fear or love fully. I saved his body, but did I save his soul, or did joining the game cost him something essential? The freedom I won was a guilty freedom, the guilt of a man who chose personal safety instead of a public warning or rational help. If I went to the police and said my son and I are players in a soul game, they would send me to a psychiatric ward. I chose to tell the story in desperation, so it sounded like a plea to confession of rules. Now the story was over. The burden was past. I had done my part. It earned. Eat off the recorder. The kitchen fell silent, only my breathing, and the air conditioner remained. I looked straight into the camera, or rather into you, the listeners. I had to finish this with the final statement of someone who had won the game. I stood, walked to the window, and looked at the darkening sky. Tonight, I could sleep with closed windows and covered mirrors. But what about you? With that thought, it earned the recorder back on for one last moment. As I said, dear listeners, as said my voice calm, then cold, I am very sorry. But thank you truly is mild as mile without warm thong. Why bitter relief? It will enjoy my newly found freedom. And I hope you enjoy your evening. I paused, creating one final dramatic beat. And don't forget to send my regards to Leo and Holly. Click, it turned off. The recorder night had fallen. The game was over form. It has only just begun for you. Tonight's story ends here. If you have a real horror story, send it to Dark Whispers Audio. Let's share the fear together. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell, because the next whisper might come sooner than you think.